Well, we've got a dilemma here. A fellow by the name of Michael Wilkins, who is a friend of Tom and myself, academic dean at Talbot Seminary, is also a person who writes and speaks in this field of discipleship. And he says he goes out and in the audiences that he's speaking to, he asks them two questions. The first one is, he asks people to raise their hand. I won't ask you to raise your hand here, but he says, how many of you can say, in the humble confidence of your own heart, that you are a disciple of Jesus? Let's that question settle in. How many of you can say, in the humble confidence of your own heart, that you're a disciple of Jesus? Well, how do you think people usually respond to that? Well, raise your hand if they would say that. He would say, and people would sort of, a few timidly raise their hand and then put it back down again. Then he would ask a second question. How many of you can say in the confidence of your own heart that you are a true Christian rather than a true disciple? People would raise their hands very rapidly. Hesitant about being a true disciple, confident about being a true Christian. So my question to you is, what's the difference there? What's going on? Is there a distinction, biblically, between being a Christian and being a disciple? Are they not one and the same? Is that a distinction that we have made and allowed ourselves to live with? And what I would say is that we have made peace in the church with an unbiblical distinction, that you can be a Christian without being a disciple. Let me go to one other slide here. I got this quote from one of Dallas Willard's books. And Dallas Willard shares about a pastor who had a woman come up to him after worship one Sunday morning. And the woman said to him, you know, Pastor, I just want to be a Christian. I don't want to be a disciple. I like my life the way it is. I believe that Jesus died for my sins and I will be with him when I die. Why do I have to be a disciple? Okay, you're the pastor listening to this woman. What would you say to her? What would your retort be to her? That I don't want to be a disciple, I just want to be a Christian. And she obviously is making some distinction here that being a disciple is going to mess up her life, you know, in terms of what she's going to have to do. So. Again, John Ortberg, who we're going to hear from in a few moments, says that we are used to preaching the gospel as the minimum entrance requirements that you must accept to get into heaven. But it has little staying power to transform us into the kind of persons that really are followers of Jesus. So we can get this gift, we can receive it, and I think that's what people mean by being a true Christian. Oh, I have received Christ in my life. I've made that transaction. I prayed that prayer, and therefore I'm okay. But taking that next step, I'm not sure. I think this has a lot to do with the way we have taught the doctrine of justification by faith alone in our churches. We've been so allergic to works that as an evidence of our faith that we barely mention the word works as a sign of that which is an expression of who we are in Christ, because we don't want works to be the means of our earning our salvation. So we're justified by faith alone, apart from works of righteousness. And then we forget to say, oh, but by the way, as a result of our being justified, we have a new heart, a new life, and we need to lean into those works that we are called to.